and welcome to another Outlet Conversation. I'm Vince Thomas here, lead pastor of the Outlet Community Church, and I am with a dear friend, colleague, just all around great person, Ericka McCracken. What's going on?
Oh, me? Little me? No, this is wonderful. Nice. We are long overdue.
Long overdue. We could go back to pandemic times 3 years ago, and we started doing candid conversations, and it was really candid. Mm-hmm. And I said, you know what? I gotta bring you back. The world needs to hear from you. A lot has transpired over the last 3 years that we can talk about, and really for the Outlet Conversations, this is a platform for us to have honest, authentic dialogue. So go ahead, and if you want to hear more of this, click that subscribe button, like this, share it, pass it to all your family and friends. You definitely want to hear today's conversation. So we want to talk about how to be active in the community. Mm-hmm. One of the individuals that I look up to a lot, Reverend Dr. C.T. Vivian, one of his primary statements were, it's in the action. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times we talk a great game. Yeah. And our society at times can say a great game, and we can post a great game, but living that game out. And I think one of the things that are, really new and true to what we do is that if we say it, it's because we're going to do it. Yeah. And I think that everybody should contribute in some form or fashion back to society.
Absolutely.
So because I know you and have known you as we talked before we went live, by the time of this recording, at least 12 years. Mm-hmm. My Lord, that went by fast.
Yeah, and I wasn't doing a lot of the stuff I was doing now 12 years ago.
Wow. So over that time span, you've been even more active within the community at large. And I won't spill the beans too much, but I mean, you're holding some pretty influential roles within our community. I know, and I appreciate leaders such as yourself who you don't lead with your title or your influence or your position. Even when I think about what you do and did at work, like that's a huge responsibility. Most people don't know about that on the 8 to 5 side. So, let's kind of fill them in a little bit on who is Ericka McCracken.
I mean, so as a servant leader, I started, I guess, in 2000. I'll say maybe 2014 or 15-ish. Okay. And I lived in Atlanta by that time for almost 10 years. Came from Virginia, tried to figure some things out. Had a core group of friends here. So It's easy when you come somewhere and you know people. And there was comfort in my friendships and relationships and things of that sort. And then went through like a devastating breakup at the time and realized, I want to expand my circle. Like I want to kind of get out and do some things, and my core team and my core family and my core friends are those, but I wanted to expand. I want to get involved. I want to fill my time with some things.
Wow.
And I didn't know what those things were. I just knew I wanted to do something. So good old Google. I was a younger professional.
What do I do next? Google,
how to get involved. And I think I might have put volunteer opportunities in Atlanta, something like that.
Wow.
So it was nothing fell out the sky. I was just like, let me figure this out. I didn't know where to start.
Almighty Google. What should I do next?
What's next? I thought I was going to. And I think the breakup, and I'll not go too much into it, but it was a engagement. So I think when I thought about spending my life with somebody else, and now that's not happening, like, what do I do now with my time?
Oh, no, I ain't going to let you just skirt by that, because as you're talking,
skirt.
I'm now, listen, this may be a part 1, part 2, because this is rich, because you took what others would really consider a major trauma, a major tragedy, a major disappointment, and said, now, how do I take this void and make a contribution from this void?
Yeah.
And again, we're looking 12 years later. Mm-hmm. Life is completely different 12 years later, but in that moment, just your thinking is, okay, this unexpected event has happened. Mm-hmm. What do I do next?
Yeah. And I'll tell you, it didn't start that way.
Okay. So how did it start? Because, it's an outlet conversation.
Yeah. So background, engagement broken off.
Okay.
A good friend of mine called me and was like, hey, my friend's in the hospital. Can you please go see him? And I was like, I don't go see him. I'm gonna deal with my own stuff. She had no idea, but
Wow.
she asked, "Hey, my friend got into an accident. Can you just? I'm gonna send you a card. Can you just go get some flowers and bring it to the hospital?" And I was like, "Sure." Didn't know exactly what happened to him. Knew that I did not want to go.
Okay.
Because I was feeling, I was in my own feelings.
We got our own stuff going.
Yeah,
on.
and I was like, well, I wasn't ready to share that, but I was like, fine, I'll go. And I think in my mind, I was like, how's she gonna ask me this? But had no idea. But that's how your mind starts thinking. So I go to the hospital, I get the card, and it is a major traumatic injury. Wow. Like he was at the time unrecognizable. Like it. So in that moment, I was like, my goodness, I think I'm going through something. This person here is possibly fighting for their life. A large perspective. So after that, I was like, okay, Ericka, the world is bigger than you. Okay. There's way more going on. And that's not to say that you can't deal with whatever you're going through, but it made me realize it could be worse.
Wow.
So I ended up going back to see the gentleman, and luckily he was doing much better after that. And then he ended up being, released and things of that sort. But it really stuck with me how big life is, and sometimes how small whatever you're going through could be. So that really motivated me to be like, okay, Ericka, I got life. Like nothing else. I have my life. I have my limbs. I have my faculties about myself. Let me get involved. And that's when I decided, let me get back on the Google and figure this part out.
Now, on the side journey to the Google, there's something else, because you're not only a community leader, not only a great friend, great sister, you're an author.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
So. I didn't. Because I'm like, oh, yeah. When life happened, just hearing you now say that, I wanted to take what I was going through to find out how I could give back. But not only give back, but how could I, from a place of brokenness, bring healing to others? And I just remember your book. I was like, this is really good.
Well, thank you, man. Gosh. So even in that, I never intended to be an author.
Okay.
I just remember jotting down how I was feeling and very fragmented little stuff on my phone, little notes. And then at some point, one of my friends, somebody either went through something similar or something, and I was like, hey, you'll be better. I've gone through this and this happened, and I felt this same way too, and I wrote this down. And then eventually the friend was like, you should make this a book. And I was like, I don't want to do all of that. Like, I'm trying to help you out, friend. I don't want everyone to know all of how I felt, how I'm feeling, and all this other stuff. But then eventually, it was divine. God was like, look, hey, you've gone through this. How can you help somebody else? And that's when the book came about.
Wow.
And that was awesome because I didn't realize I enjoyed public speaking, because I had to promote the book, because I'm like, the book ain't going to sell itself, so let me just get on out here. And I was used to being behind the camera, not in front of it. So that made me kind of get past some of the trepidation I had, and then that was helpful, which kind of parlayed into the community part, because now people in the community know me.
Got it.
Even as an author initially. And even in that, besides Google search, I decided to start with Urban League Young Professionals.
Okay.
So, and they had committees. I was like, oh, let me do political action. Sure, I had zero knowledge of what that meant. But they told me, hey, we have these events to get people to come out, talk to them about the political process. And I was like, I can go to the little event on Saturday. I could, So that started the journey of service. And then in that journey, you meet other like-minded people. And that's how I kind of was able to expand my service portfolio.
So we start from one organization which really stemmed from a heart or a desire to go in a particular direction. So I think that's the first step when we're talking about being more involved in the community. We got to have a genuine desire. But I think organically what I'm seeing this thread of is, okay, I'm going through something, but I realize that life is bigger than me. And I think sometimes we forget that because of what we're going through. We feel like, woe is me. I'm the only one going through this. But the reality is many times it could be a whole lot worse. So you start in the first step, just helping people to become aware politically. Where else did that lead you in your service in the community?
So one of the good things and maybe not so good things is usually people in that circle stick together, and you run into them in the kind of the same circles. Just like if I was a singer, I probably would hang out with other singers, and I would be in that network of people. Pastoring, you hang out with other pastors, or y'all have that network. So same thing with service.
Got it.
And that someone else was involved in something else, and they were just like, you should consider this. And actually, before I met my current significant other, he was very involved in service in his community, and he recommended me for a program called New Leaders Council.
Okay.
Didn't know what it was. He told me to come to a mixer. And I went to the mixer and I saw someone who they had a panel, and all these people had these great titles and they were very passionate about their work. And I was like, man, like I aspired to do that one day. Applied the first year, didn't even get in. Like I was so excited. I was like, let me go ahead and fill out this application. They were like, we're sorry to inform you that you're not gonna go past this step.
Okay.
So I was like, I want it. So I was like, I won't be discouraged. I did it is the United Way VIP program, which it trained you on how to be a board member.
Oh, wow.
It's like, this is wonderful. So I met other people in that, and we applied for NLC together. I don't think any of us got in that year. I think everybody, because I think we was like, we were all rejected.
So at the United Way program, that's when you met all the other people who were rejected. And
The rejectees came together, and we were like, "Yeah, we're doing something else now. Forget y'all." So it was awesome, but I was disappointed because I'm like, man, but God's timing is divine.
Oh, okay.
So I applied again.
Okay.
Got some coaching. Because the thing about some of these programs is they ask you to fill out an application.
Oh, give us these tips. Like, take us inside. So give us some insight in these applications for these different organizations. So
I shall.
Okay.
So you have to remember that everyone is probably an all-star in their particular field. So if you come in with just, I've done this thing, and you are a box checker, which is someone who just, in Ericka's opinion, this is not a definition, it may be in the Urban Dictionary, but you just start doing all of these things just to say that you've done it. So you want your signature to read
certain.
Yeah. And when we look at applications, when I look at it, whether it's for jobs are different because you're supposed to talk about it, but like service things, like where's your heart? What motivates you to do it? What makes you step out or stand out against somebody else who probably has just as many accolades as you have? Because there's a reason why you did it. So please, when you're filling out an application for a service organization, don't just lead with, I've done all of these things. Like, why did you do these things? Most of the time it's a story, whether you were, I'll give you one example.
Absolutely.
Phil,
give us these tips.
Phil
Olalayi. The guy who is the representative around here. Our friend Phil. Shout
out to Phil.
Shout out to Phil.
So I did not know Phil. I still don't know him extremely well. I met him in another thing that I applied for, but
great guy.
Wonderful.
Next generation Atlanta.
He leads something. So anyway, we go to his, I guess it was a ceremony after he was informally inducted into the state house.
Yep.
At his local church.
Yep.
And that's when we got a chance to meet his family and for him to talk about his journey. And when I tell you, I cried hearing like that he experienced like being unhoused and like how his family broke up, how those dynamics affected him. Like it wasn't just, I just want to help people. No, I have lived these things. And thankfully, I was able to ascend despite all of these things. So he has a heart and an experience. And then hearing his mother and father's, like it was not a dry eye in the house. So that was so, now it's like, I get it. So when you're applying for anything, like get deeper, like write your first response and then scrap it. Because more than likely it was surface.
Wow.
So you can go deeper.
So don't be one that has big signatures, have big significance. See that?
Yes.
That's the snap right there on that one. I like that.
I like that.
Wow. Big, instead of big signatures, have big significance.
I like that.
Like know your why and be able to communicate your why. Because you are so right. All of us can be an all-star in our own head and in our own world, and we can all make our own narrative. But no one can take away that why, that passion. I think that's so unique to each of us that there is a reason why all of us get up every day. All of us face a level of adversity and still yet persist.
Yep.
And that's what I'm hearing with you, because your story didn't end with the rejection of the NLC, but in the midst of the rejection, you got better while you waited until the next opportunity.
And don't get discouraged, because everything you apply for, you're not going to get. And you can't be like, well, just forget it. So I was like, no, now I got a little chip on my shoulder, because I'm like, okay, I see. I applied again, got some coaching.
Okay.
Which they helped me with that. Like,
shout out to coaches out there.
Shout out because he read. I was happy. Hey, read. Here you go. And he was like, that was nice, but why? And I was like,
what did his why question force you to do?
To go deeper. It was like there are layers. So you started here. You might have went a little deeper from last year, but you didn't go deep enough. And he's the one who told me, like, whatever you wrote is not much different from anyone else who's doing this. So what's gonna make you stand out?
Wow.
Because I remember one of the questions was like, what makes you want to champion for people? And my story was I'm an identical twin. And when, regardless of who did what, we both got punished for the same crime, because it was like either you if you didn't do it, you knew about it. So that was my mother's thing. But why I get beat? You knew about it. I'm like, well, still. So my thing is, I know what it's like to be punished for a crime you didn't do.
Okay.
So that was my point of
I'm
advocating.
hearing your sister was the bad one.
Actually, it was more me.
Oh,
it was more.
I was about to say, because if you're gonna put her out here like this, we could do that. But I'm just. She owned up. Okay.
Yeah, Ebony. I've cut Ebony's hair, clipped all her fingers with scissors. Like, it's been a whole. And she used to take the punishment. I mean,
she still loves you.
She did.
Shout out E.
Yeah, I remember when I cut her a bang. Oh. Yeah.
Y'all are
before bangs were. Yeah, it was all the way bad.
Bangs were blunt.
I mean, let me tell you, it was. I don't know if you call it a bang, if you can't curl it. I don't know what you call it, but my mother was very firm on y'all gonna be rewarded together and be punished together.
Wow.
That was a big thing. And first I was like, that ain't fair, but I understood it because she was right. If you didn't know about it,
So your coach had you peel back these layers.
Yeah, like when I tell you, I thought that this application was. I was like, here's the champ, and he was like, nah, that's cute. I'm like, that's cute. So I went home like, gosh, and I sat there for a while, went deeper, and then when I resent him everything, he was like, see that. This is where it is. I was like, okay, and I got in that year.
On that.
Okay. 2017, which was the year so Trump was elected in 2016. In November.
We remember that.
Our class started in January.
Right after the inauguration. My Lord.
So, and even that year, they had so many applicants because so many people wanted to do something. People were like, I got to do something. So my class, what I tell you was divine, because I couldn't imagine having the journey we had with anybody else. Like, our class, it was a unique time. We learned a lot together. It was great. So that's how I was like, when it's your time, it's your time.
Yeah.
And it was a great opportunity. And with that, I sat on my first board. So I did the program, and then I was like, this program has been so amazing to me. How can I give back? I want to give back. And I sat on the board for the next 3 years. So I pretty much served in almost every position they had on the board, except for like treasurer and one other thing. Because I was like, numbers is not really my thing. I can, small numbers. But so then after that, they had to recruit for co-director, which is like the highest position you can have in a local chapter.
Okay.
And I applied for that before too. Somebody nominated me and I didn't get in that time.
The first time.
Yep. So everything has always been like the second time around.
Got it.
So the second time I applied, and then the person I was doing it with, I was like, see, if I would do it with anyone, it would have been with her.
Right. God's timing.
Yep. It was his timing, and we did it. So the term starts in the summertime, and it was the summer of COVID.
That's right. That's right. I remember that because from just a relational friendship perspective, I had such a level of admiration for you in your desire to lead in one of the most tumultuous times, to lead a diverse organization that is about community change. And from my seat, I saw you embrace that role with class, with grace, lead it effortlessly. And there's something to be said that in times of crisis when you step up.
Yeah.
But we're gonna make this the part one, because I want us to, when we come back, talk about the lessons of being in that top role in 2020 in the pandemic, what we're doing today, and just how all of these events have really helped to frame and shape you today you gave us really the blueprint for when we want to take that next step to be resilient, to come from, realizing that the world is bigger than us and we're not the only ones going through problems, and how can we take our brokenness and bring healing?
Yeah.
And find a way, instead of having big signatures, to have big significance.
I like it. And to do it scared. Because I had no intention on being a co-director of Nobody's Nothing. Okay, that was not in my trajectory. I'm like, I can sit in the back, I can do these little. But when you're pushed, when people see things in you and you grow and develop, you just got to do it scared. So if nothing else, if people believe in you enough to recommend you for things, you're not going to have everything, but you learn in the process. But do it scared, and you won't regret it. Most of the time, you won't regret it.
Y'all heard it here first. This is phenomenal. Thank you, E.
Of course,
for
it was my
starting
pleasure.
This conversation. This will not be the last time, because my mind is now already racing. This is bringing us back to how it all began.
Talking about social justice in the church.
And real change. And, you've kept me accountable to making sure that we still stay who we are. And I appreciate the encouragement. I appreciate the push forward. I appreciate your tangible support in what we're doing. We'll talk more about that next time, because you go before day one with us. And this is a byproduct of your community activism. And I'm just grateful that you get to sit in the fruit of
Me
your
too.
service.
Me too. When I tell you, when I walked in that church, I was like, God is real. I mean, we knew it, but I think sometimes he reminds us.
I think you gotta see it.
Yeah.
Like everybody can, say, but until you see it, it's like, I know from where it all started. And I can attest to your principles. I can see how in my life, being resilient, just wanting to help somebody in a place that there may have been a disappointment.
Yeah.
And sticking with it, and you don't know what doors open up from there.
You don't.
And we look, and our lives are completely
changed, and God honors our fruits. I've seen it. I think we think the fruit has to be a large thing. I got to give you $10,000. No, if all you have is an hour a week, if that's what you can sow. Sowing is money, time, like all of those things I feel like are, and I just thought about this, because I feel like tithing with your time, that's something you can make more money. You can't make more time.
Girl, this is a whole different conversation. We got to talk about the time, talent, treasure giving is huge, because we can be disconnected in one or three of those areas.
Yep.
But if we bring our full self to our time, our talent, our treasure, that's the real contribution to our community.
Yes.
That needs to be had. So, y'all, we will keep this conversation going. You will see Ericka again. Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure.
And make sure y'all like, subscribe, and share. And we'll see you next time here on the Outlet Conversations.